Hi, I'm Keith McGowan, the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience by maintenance, checks, doing the things that we need to do, being diligent on these motors to make sure that they're taken care of the way the manufacturer wants us to, right? So please like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have. We're continuing on with our 150 horse Mercury project motor, getting into the poppet valve now, and as you look, give you a little closer view here. It is buried in here, right? Somewhat underneath the plate that holds a lot of the electronics in. So sometimes when guys look at that or people look at that, they go, it's probably fine, and they don't do anything with it. So let's get into it and see what it looks like. I do have my battery disconnected. This one was kind of loose too, so that I don't accidentally arc something out. You can see we got main power right here. So the bolts are kind of loose. So is that a good sign or a bad sign? We're going to find out in a few minutes. One down. And I'll give you a little closer shot when we pull this off. All right, so let's pull this out. It's coming out as a whole assembly, it looks like. It actually looks like I could probably take the top cover off, but it looks like it's stuck together. There we go. So, looks like that was functioning. The rubber piece looks good. This is a newer gasket, maybe, maybe not. Let's split this and see what it looks like inside here. Oh, actually not too bad. So, we can't blame lack of maintenance on this one other than having no thermostats. So, now we're going to have to look at our main mounting bolts. We're going to get a little wire brush in here. We're going to see if we can loosen these up, get the rust off of it. I'm going to brush some of the rust off of it, spray it with some of my famous jack-of-all sprays, really good penetrating oil. I love it. And we'll let it sit for a little while, see if we can get these bolts broken loose, get this engine off. But now I have to put my eye bolt back on top, which I guess I shouldn't have taken off, and get our engine hoist up there and get this motor off. Then I'll get it on my bench and undress it, so to speak. Don't take that personal. I'm going to put it on the bench and we're going to go ahead and take the carbs off. We're going to inspect those. What you'll see I'm going to do to my bench is I'm going to clear off a whole shelf. Anything that I kind of have storage stuff of, I'll stack it on my bench aside. And when I take stuff apart, carbs, electronics, I put it in its proper location in the sequence that I took it off. Also, we're going to videotape it so I could see how it goes on. So as you can see pretty clearly, you can see how badly rusted these bolts are and how much corrosion we have in here. It's pretty typical for a, let's see, 2001, so it's a 23-year-old motor. So I got these little, they were once pipe cleaners, and different wire brushes that I use. So I have these different wire brushes and pipe cleaners that I use to get in there. Little one to get in tight spaces. The more of this rust I can knock off ahead of time, the better chance I have of getting that nut loose. So I try to get in there as best I can. I know I'm not going to be able to get all of it off, but I'm going to keep working around. Don't breathe it in, it can't be good for you. And maybe even bend it a little bit to get around the back side. Right, and just keep working all these bolts. There's some up here. We're going to work these around, and then we're going to spray them all up with our jack-of-all sprays, which is one of my favorite penetrants, and we'll see if we can break some of these loose. So the other thing I'm going to do is I see some really heavy rust. This is one of my old screwdrivers, wooden handle, but it's steel all the way on the end, so I can, yes, abuse it a little more. So I'm just going to chip, if you see that, we just chipped some of those rust pieces off of there. It's going to make it easier. I'm going to go right in up this way and just try and break loose some of that rust in hopes that I'll be able to get this nut loose. Now I also can heat this nut up with a torch. I'm going to be careful there's no fuel in the carburetors before I do that. But this knocking around, then I'm going to go right to the nut itself. Give it a little impact because this is steel on steel. It's just a little tiny hammer. I can go bigger with my bigger hammer if need be. But I'm going to spray these up after cleaning them up really good. Then we'll get on them with my big wrench and a cheater bar and see if we can get these broken loose. Really hard to get around the backside. But the more diligent we are here, the better chance we have of saving these. So I chipped it, and then I brush it, and then I chip it, and then I brush it. And then we'll soak them. I'm going to do this to the rest of the bolts, both sides and the top as well. And then we'll try and break them loose. So these bottom ones were probably the worst that were corroded. The couple that are up front kind of have oil and grease on them from the two-stroke running over its years. I did find out that the 14mm fits closest or tightest on this. You could probably use a 9/16, it was a little looser, so I want to have something that's going to give me a good grip. And it's a Harbor Freight wrench, so I don't care if I break it, and I'm going to use my impact wrench. So here's my impact, here's my wrench. And let's see. I'm going to go nice and easy. It's a good start. Sometimes I might stop and work back and forth. Now I don't know if it's coming off the stud or if the whole stud's coming out of the block. I don't care as long as it comes all the way out. So if I look closely at the bottom, I should be able to see if the whole thing is turning. And it is not. Either that or the nut is just stripped and spinning. But it looks like it's, yeah, it looks like it's dropped down a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and spray my Jack of all sprays in the top of it so it soaks down inside. So let's try this other one. We're going to try the worst ones first. Let's see if this one will come loose. I want to make sure I get the wrench up there covering the nut all the way. Good start. Let's get these wires out of the way for our power tilt and trim. Okay, so at least you understand what I'm doing and how I'm making this work. I'm going to continue on with these, check the other ones on the other side first before I go crazy with the rest of them. Hardest ones first. If I get past that, then we'll keep moving. Okay, so next step, I still don't have them all the way off yet. When those nuts came down, it pushed a bunch of the garbage in those threads and kind of started to build up and bind up. So I brought them back up, and now I'm going to wire brush them, those stems again, those studs again at the bottom part, get as much of the crap off of there, and then see if we can spin them off the rest of the way. So far the other two came loose, same exact scenario, so let's see how it goes. So we're going to continue on with this outboard motor in our next episode. We're going to get the rest of those nuts loose, and we're going to show you how to use a pry bar on some of these studs. We may have to use a torch. If we do, there's a rubber gasket here that our cowlings meet up against that we have to remove. A little tricky getting that out of there. We may have to do some undressing of this for that to happen. But I'm hoping we don't have to. Remember, these two are pretty long studs that go through there. So that could be all corroded up inside that sleeve. So we really don't know what's going to happen. But first what we're going to try is a little pry bar action, and then we'll get our engine hoist up here to make sure we can pick it. We just want to get it to move to start with. So that'll be our next episode. I'm Keith McGowan, the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience and help you understand your outboard motor and its needs. Have a great day.